And the game hasn't changed all that much either, but everything surrounding the game has changed so much. The bats are a lot hotter. The ball is hotter. We still have the one-run ball games. I happen to like that because I like pitching and I like defense. I do like offense, but I like defense more. I'm more defensive-oriented than offensively oriented. So I just feel that, in my opinion, and everybody can disagree, I don't care, there are way too many runs scored in super regionals and regionals.
Yeah.
It's like, make the strike zone what the strike zone is in the book. Let's call the strike zone. Let's not just make it so it's a hitter's game totally.
At the field, in your car, or on the couch, get your fast pitch info from the coach's mouth.
Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus. Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. Happy to be talking to you again. This is Ken Kraus here, as always, with my good buddy Jay Bolden. Jay, how are you doing today?
Hey, Ken, I'm doing really well. Things are going good. Excited that summer is in full swing. Lots of lessons, getting out a little bit to get some recruiting going. We have our first St. Xavier camp coming up here in June. So we're excited about that. That's the first one I think we've done ever. So excited to get some of those kids on campus and do a little, see what they can do competing and those kinds of things. But yeah, things are going good. How about yourself?
Yeah, everything's going well with me. You know, the heat of the summer is starting to hit, so doing those outside lessons is a little different experience. But looking forward to the 4th of July. That's coming up in a couple of days. So do you have any plans for the 4th?
I'm in Indiana, so, it's like the wild, wild west during the 4th of July. We just, honestly, there's a field behind our house and a little street that hasn't been put in yet for going to that field. So we kind of go to that street and just all the neighbors get their chairs and we just look left, right, back, around and do that. And of course, we'll blow some stuff off. My kids always want to blow some stuff off. So we'll go spend some money on some of those things and just have a good time. So no, we kind of hang out and just watch everything around us and then blow our stuff off. And then that's kind of it. So how about you? Any big plans?
Well, remind your kids that it's tough to throw a rise ball without an index finger, so be careful with those fireworks.
Yeah, I will absolutely remind them of that.
Okay, and then we are, here Mundelein every year does Mundelein Days. It's like a 4-day community festival. They have the Mundelein Munch, so we can go up there and get something to eat. Just kind of go around. They have bands and all that kind of stuff. And you can walk around and realize how many people live in town because you don't recognize anybody who's there. Yeah. And then at night we go out and watch, we go down to this pond that's near my house and we can kind of see the Mundelein fireworks from there, plus some other ones in the area. So, yep. Speaking of fireworks, We've got quite a guest today, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Why don't you give some people some information about this amazing guest we have today?
All right. Well, anyone who's attended an NFCA coaching clinic in any form is probably familiar with our guest today because she's not only a legend as a coach for her players, but also for sharing her knowledge with other coaches. After a stellar playing career at Grand Valley State University in Michigan, where she was named Female Athlete of the Year after her senior season, our guest became the pitching coach at her alma mater, a position she held for 3 years while also serving as head softball coach at West Ottawa High School in her second year there. Her early coaching career also included a stint as head volleyball coach at Hope College during that time. From there, our guest began a 40-year run as head softball coach at Central Michigan University, where she compiled 1,270 wins against just 814 losses, placing her at number 17 on the all-time wins list for Division I. Along the way, her teams won a record 10 Mid-American Conference regular season titles, 10 MAC tournament championships, also a record, made 13 appearances in the NCAA tournament, and secured one berth to the NCAA Women's College World Series, as well as making it to the quarterfinals of the AIAW Women's College World Series before losing to the eventual tournament champions, that darn Texas A&M. But her accomplishments didn't start there. Our guest was an assistant coach with the U.S. Olympic softball team that won the gold medal in the 2000 Games in Sydney, Australia, as well as coaching with Team USA for several years at various levels, and is a member of not one, not two, but 5 Halls of Fame, including the National Fast Pitch Coaches, Grand Valley State University, Michigan Amateur Softball, West Ottawa High School, and Metro Detroit Amateur Softball Association Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm from the coach's mouth welcome to the incredible Margo F. Jonker. I'm sorry, Jonker. I knew I was going to do that. Margo F. Jonker. Hi, Margo.
Coach.
How are you?
Hi, how are we doing today?
Awesome. Thanks for
Great.
joining us.
It's my pleasure. I love to talk about softball. Nothing better. Best game in the world, in my opinion.
For sure. It's got all the strategy of chess and all the athleticism of basketball or hockey or any of those other games. It's a lot of fun. We love it.
Yeah, and then College World Series past month was amazing. It was amazing to see the different talent and the different players and all that type of stuff and the strategy. If I agreed or didn't agree, which I was by myself, so it was okay. No one didn't have to listen to it. But I, in the past, I had a group of colleagues and we all went to the World Series, and that was pretty fun because we'd all sit together and we'd all analyze what would you do in this situation before it came up, and then so that was pretty fun time.
Did you guys always agree, or were there some major disagreements?
We didn't always agree, but certainly it was just strategy talk because,
Yeah.
You never know for sure what's going to work.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And it's always good. Once you've seen how it all plays out, it's a little bit easier to say what your decision was.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Margo. So we're going to jump right on in here, and we want to get an idea of where did your softball journey begin? How did you get started just playing softball?
Well, my dad was a big softball player, and they played with a 14-inch ball back and forth. And so when I was young, growing up, we would play catch all the time. And I grew up on a small dairy farm, Holland, Michigan. And so we'd play catch before we went to milk cows and during the milking of the cows when there's a long milking one, which in other words took a long time for them to give the milk. So we'd run out there, we'd throw the glove to each other, and we'd run out there and we'd play some catch. So that was the beginning. And then at West Ottawa High School, I had a really good coach, Mary Krieger, who's passed now, but she did a great job, and I really got interested in there because I started playing when I was a sophomore in high school. That was the first time they had softball.
And then did you play other sports when you were there too?
Yeah, sort of. I played at other sports, we'll just say. I played basketball, and I did bowling. And then they had, at that time, back in the day, they had the softball throw for the track meet. And so then since my softball coach also did that, I had to do the softball throw. I didn't have the other stuff. And she always complained, well, you didn't throw the ball as far as you do when practice. I'm like, well, there's a runner in practice. What good is it to throw a ball when there's no reason to other than to see how far you can throw? Anyway, it was a fun time. I had a great high school career.
Well, based on, the fact that you were coaching volleyball at one point, did you play volleyball too?
I did not. I never played volleyball. And then at Hope College, which is where I'm from, Holland, they needed a volleyball coach and assistant, so I helped the assistant coach out a little bit. I went to a bunch of clinics. I went to a clinic at Central Michigan. I went to a clinic at Grand Valley because I went to Grand Valley, and Joan Bond was a volleyball coach, softball coach, basketball coach at that time. So I learned from her, asked a lot of questions, and she was great. So I just went in as an assistant, and then Sandy, the head coach, had a year off, so I took over the team while she was on sabbatical, and then she came back, and then that was the end of my volleyball coaching career there. And then when I went to Central Michigan, I got a graduate assistantship, and it was for head softball and assistant volleyball. So I did that for a couple of years while I was a GA. That was it. And Fran Koenig, the athletic director at Central, who was amazing, one of the forerunners of the AIW, which is the governing body that really got things going for women in sports. She was a huge influence and was amazing to me. So she gave me the opportunity, and I'll be forever thankful for her for that.
So if I'm not mistaken, Margo, I think you're still coaching a little bit, right? I saw that, I think it was last December, you went over to the Netherlands. How did that come about? And are you still doing things like that where, it's not at, Division I level, but you're still out there doing coaching or helping coaches?
Well, I love the game. I can't get away from the game. So, I go watch a bunch of my friends' teams play yet, and alumni teams play, and help one of my alumni at Northwood, who just got named the head coach at Northwood a couple weeks ago. So I've been doing Northwood practice volunteer, not often, a few times, because I am retired and I'm taking advantage of that opportunity to travel and do other things. But with the Netherlands, that was interesting thing. Michelle Brander and Danny Marlink, okay, those aren't their married names. Those are their names when they played here. They took a team to the Netherlands 3 years, I think, or so. And I had gone to that Netherlands for that same event, but I did a clinic back there. Right after the Olympics, they had me come over and do a clinic. So I did it for about 8 years, something like that. And so Michelle, sad, in October, had a stroke, so she couldn't go. So I contacted them and said I would help out if you want me to. And so that's what I did. I just went to help them out. And I had Danny be in charge because she knew exactly what the team had done before, because I had not been there, as I said, in a team setting. But I knew the organizers of it, so it all went well. I did it mainly just to help out, and I was very, very fortunate because the kids that were there on that team were so good. I mean, they were so good, such great kids, and they loved the game. It was so much fun.
Yeah. How we got connected, I got your information was through Kendall Fisk and the Fisk family. So, and they, I think she, she got to play with you, and they loved every minute. They had nothing but great things to say about you and all of that. So I just wanted to say thanks to Kendall Fisk and the Fisk family up there for connecting us so that we could have you on today.
Yeah, I was impressed with Kendall. I thought she looked really good, and I think she's going to have a great career at Detroit. I'll be anxious to watch her play. See, that becomes a problem. There are so many people I want to watch play that it seems like I'm running around all spring watching games.
Yeah. And then you get to look at the strategy there again.
Yeah.
If people who know you, I mean, I know that when I go out to watch games, I just go out to watch and kind of appreciate the game. And it's funny because people say, well, why did the coach do this? Or why are they doing this? And I'll be like, I don't know. I'm not here for that. I'm just here to enjoy. Is that how you kind of approach it?
Well, not exactly. I watch the strategy definitely and watch the technique and all that type of stuff. But the issue is I'm not at the practices, so I don't know what they do at the practices. I don't know how the players perform in practice and what the coaches have seen. So I'm not criticizing at all. And I'll pretty much keep it to myself anyway. But to me, it's like that's what I always thought when parents had something to say, not that they ever disagreed with me, but when parents had something to say, I'm thinking, you don't know what your kid's doing in practice. You can't really evaluate it because you don't know. You're not there. So, to me, it's the same thing when I'm watching something. I don't know what they're doing in practice. I don't know their skill set. And their parents, example, may know what they have done before and what they can do, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are doing it in that setting. So that's what's so important to me, is that you know the ins and outs of all the different things going on.
Very true. So I wanted to ask you how you got to Central Michigan from Grand Valley State. You played there at Grand Valley, you were a coach there, and then what led you to Central Michigan?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story. I think that Joan Bond knew Fran Koenig so my college coach knew Fran Koenig because she was a legend in the state of Michigan and in the country in the women's athletics. So I went for a graduate assistantship, talked to Joan about what to do. So I applied for 3 different places primarily, and I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't really have any connection to Central at all. And I was a local farm girl, didn't think I'd ever leave the area type stuff. And well, I got a letter back from Central first. So I prayed beforehand, prayed, God, please help me know where I should go. So I got the letter first, and I said, it's the first letter I get, I'm going to go there. So what I did, I got the letter, I put it in the mail, accepting the position. And that day when I got the mail back, I got the invite from the other 2 places. But I had already accepted, so I'm very happy about that. It led me into an amazing career with amazing people, because that's what the career is all about anyway. Game is awesome, but the people around it are even more spectacular.
For sure. Well, you must have liked it because you stayed there for 40 years. I do have to ask, though, I don't know how much interaction there was in other departments within the university, but did you know Jack Williamson at all? He was
I
the
did
band
not.
director.
I did not. No.
Okay.
I watched the band play, but at football games because I played in the band in high school, so I was interested in that. But no, I did not know.
Oh, okay, because he was my band director when I was in high school. So I just thought maybe there was a connection there.
Well, that's awesome. What instrument did you play?
Well, that's kind of a long story. I started out on clarinet, and then I switched to bass clarinet, and then contrabass clarinet, and then in the marching band, I played the sousaphone, and then my junior year, I think I switched over to bassoon for the concert band, and that's kind of where I stayed with it.
I'm thinking you're pretty talented in that music area,
I'm okay.
in the band area. I think that's pretty amazing. Yeah. And the thing we now have in common is I started out in the clarinet and then I couldn't get the real high notes very well. So then they moved me to the bass clarinet. And so that's what I did the rest of my high school career, played in the bass clarinet, both in the marching band and I loved the marching band. I loved it.
Me too.
As well as the concert band. But yeah.
Yeah. And my last 2 years in marching band, I was drum major. So
there
cool.
you go.
That's cool.
Hello. I always said, I think what they did, because the drum major was kind of, one of the jobs is to be in charge of the discipline of the group. And I think that Jack Williamson chose me because he recognized that I would probably be the biggest problem in the ranks. So if you're going to be put me in charge, he could kill two birds with one stone.
Good move.
I can see that. Yeah, yep. I can see that for sure. You'll have to, you know what, Ken, you'll have to, on our Facebook page, From the Coach's Mouth Facebook page, post some of those old pictures up there, buddy. Especially the one with you in the rock band. That would be excellent. I think people would love to see that.
Oh, I don't know.
Love to see it. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
See? Yeah,
man.
The skinny dorky guy with the guitar. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, it's who cared?
That's right. That's right.
And long bushy hair.
So, Margo, I want to ask you, are you still involved with the NCAA? Are you doing stuff? I know a lot of the former coaches will do stuff at the Women's College World Series. We had Dee Abramson on here. She's doing bat testing. Are you doing anything like that for the NCAA when the regionals come around, super regionals and Women's College World Series?
No, I'm not. But Dee Abramson, now that's a class act. She has done a lot for our sport. We competed against each other when she was a head coach at Northern Illinois, and I have a lot of respect for her. But no, I am not doing anything with NCAA softball at this point in time other than watching a lot of it and, with Northwood a little bit. But that's about it for me. Nothing with regionals other than watching it. Spend a lot of time sitting in my chair watching softball on TV.
Nice. That's a good way to go. It lends itself really well to television as well.
Yeah, it does.
What were some of the pivotal moments in your coaching career? What kind of shaped the way you coach and kind of took your career to that next level?
Well, I think I was very fortunate when I got to Central. I had an idea when I went to Grand Valley when I was the assistant coach there for softball for a couple of years while I was coaching at West Ottawa High School. I coached the softball team there. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then Joan Bond, as I mentioned before, was a big influence on me. And as far as my coaching career goes, I was so fortunate because it just started. I didn't really plan on staying in coaching. That wasn't really a thought process when I went to college. I certainly had no intention of being a coach, but I guess that was God's plan. It just kind of worked out. But I thought that the big influences were Fran when she hired me and just getting going and loving the sport and just watching other people. Linda Wells was a big influence on me, and Linda was a coach at that time at Minnesota, and then she went on to Arizona State before she retired. But just different people that I watched coach and figure out what I liked about what they did. And I went to clinic upon clinic upon clinic. Paid my own way because as a GA, didn't have a lot, but I went as much as I could. I wanted to learn as much as I could. And what really influenced me a lot was my first couple years at Central. One of my players, Terry McFarland, who also played for me in high school, and she actually went to Central. Well, she committed to Central before to play basketball. And then when we started softball, then she played softball too. But there was a situation where she said to me once, "What am I doing wrong hitting?" And to be honest, I did not know. I don't know if I've ever told Terry that, but we're still friends now. But I did not know, and I said something. I mean, I came up with something just to get her mind off it, basically. But I didn't ever want to have that feeling again. So therefore, that's why I went to every clinic that I could possibly go to. And then Linda Paget, who was All-American, and was a big influence. Why did we do so well at the beginning? Because I had an All-American on the team, an All-American pitcher. So I feel very fortunate to have gone to Central at that point in time. I remember when I was at Grand Valley, the head coach said, we played Central Michigan, and the head coach said, Ann Rancourt said to me, quit watching your pitcher of next year, will you? Focus on our team. I'm like, oh, I am. But she was so good. So, I was just very fortunate because there were some great players at Central when I got there. Central at that time was known to be the top physical education collegiate program. So, you had a lot of good athletes go there. So I was just very, very fortunate with who was there and who I watched and just wanted to learn. I still want to learn today. Matter of fact, I'm hoping to spend some time with a person that's on this podcast and see if he'll let me come and bring another person with me to see what he does with pitching coaches, because Kendra was so impressed. So I just want to see for myself.
Of course. Yeah. Like I told you, Margo, you are welcome anytime you want to come down. So, and again, you have another amazing pitching coach on the other side. Ken and I share, like you talked about learning. I think Ken and we have this group of pitching coaches that we just bounce ideas off each other. We try things. I think you have to explore, right? I think Ken and I are a part of that. Like, we don't know everything and we want to continue to learn and we want to continue to try. But yeah, like I said to you, you are welcome to come down anytime. You let me know the day and the time and who you want to bring down, or if you want me to bring a certain kid in to work, I don't care. Whatever you want, Margo, I would be honored for you to spend time. But if you do come down, be prepared for me to be picking that brain of yours there nonstop too. So, because I want to learn as well. I want to hear your stories and learn and all that stuff. But you are more than welcome to come down. We'll invite Ken too, because he's just like me. What you're seeing are things that Ken and I both talk about and do with all of our kids. So yeah, I'd love to have you down.
That's awesome. And someone said to me, why are you interested in doing that now? You're not coaching anymore. I'm like, I know, but I just love the game so much and love that position. I did play that position in college as long as I also caught. So I pitched one game for the first 3 years there. I pitched one game and caught the second. Wow. Then we had or vice versa. I don't remember exactly, and then we got a new coach in. And Ann would not let me catch anymore. She was afraid I'd get hurt. But anyway, so my senior year I didn't catch. But anyway, so I wasn't the best at running bases. Matter of fact, I was terrible. So I'm just always intrigued. I always want to know more about the game.
Absolutely.
Well, it's funny that you talk about going to coaches' clinics, because I remember my first encounters with you were actually at the Mary Nutter clinics when I would watch you present. And one of the fun things I always saw about that was someone would be up presenting, and then toward the back of the room, you would see the other presenters, the other coaches who would come in there. They're all sitting back there and they're taking notes. And, what a great quiet example to every other coach who was in the room. It's like, there's never a level you get to where you don't want to learn from somebody or see what you can find out, or I guess in some cases look for, some hidden secret that'll give you an advantage in a game against them. But
I never thought of it that way. I just thought of it that I'm just wanted to learn and support my colleagues and that type of stuff. And yeah, I feel a lot of us really think it's important to, and did think it's important to learn from other people. I know I had one assistant coach once, so I was young, of course, and I said, are you going to the clinic and listen to so-and-so, because we're at the convention, and listen to you? No, I've already listened about that, and that's a position I played, so I know that. I don't need to listen. I'm like, whoa, time out. Time out. You can always learn something from anybody, even if something that you don't like. That's okay. I don't like that. I know I don't like that. But there's no one that you can't learn from.
Yeah. I mean, I've even found that people, like you say, people you don't like or people you don't think, know very much, I'll still listen to it. And if I can pick something up from there and say, well, that guy's an idiot, but he did find this one thing that I found very valuable. So, never discard anybody.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep. I'll tell you a quick story real quick, Ken. Years ago, I was kind of helped out with the Illinois Coaches Association, and I was helping bring people in for a clinic. So I brought Angel Santiago in, who was down at Nicholls State for a long time. And then I brought Catherine Gleason in, who at the time, I believe, was at Northern Kentucky. And they're both from the Chicagoland area, and they come in. And so Angel Santiago is there, and he was talking about catching and what they do at Nicholls State. And the first person to ask him a question was Catherine Gleason. She's like, Coach, why do you do that? Like, not like trying to berate him, but like she wanted to understand like why he was doing that, because it was going to help her program. It was awesome. And there's Catherine Gleason in the back of that thing, sitting there and just writing notes the whole time about when everybody presented. So those are the lifelong learners of the game. And I think that should, anybody listening to this, if you think you know it all, I have a lot of questions for you. And I'm sure everybody on the podcast here has a lot of questions for you if you know it all. Right. And like I said, I think that's the thing. Those people just want to continue to learn. But it was awesome to see Catherine Gleason sitting back there, just taking notes on all of the presenters. I was like, man, this woman is a lifelong learner. That's what she wants to do. So Margo, I want to switch. Oh, go ahead, Margo. Go ahead.
I wanted to say that Gleason is quality. And I also wanted to say Mary Nutter. I'm glad you brought up that name, because she did so much for our sport and having those clinics for everybody and have people come in. And I remember watching her, because she's from Michigan. I remember watching her play, even, which is a little bit older than I was. So watching her play, and was a great player too. So a great person, great player, great coach. So Good for our game.
And she ran those clinics with an iron fist.
She did. She did. She stood up, and you knew your time was over. You better get off the stage. Which is funny that some people, because I've gone to a couple events, and they say, well, we can't stop them. We just have to let them go. I'm like, oh, you don't know Mary Nutter. She would have been able to figure out a way to get them off.
Yeah. If Sue Enquist is up there and she starts to run over time, Mary Nutter's going to be giving her the evil eye. And Sue would just look and go, oh, I guess my time is up.
Yeah.
So, Margo, I want to ask you, when you took over at Central Michigan, what was your vision for the program then?
Well, I really took over. The only softball was 1 year before I got there. So it was a brand new program. And I was a graduate assistant. The previous coach, Skig Russell, Marion Russell, and she was a grad assistant. So I knew her she played for the Lansing Laurels top team. Kay Purvis was the coach of that team. Certainly a legend of softball here in our state. And I played for the Royals at that time, or Whirlpool. I'm not sure it was Royals at that time, from Wyoming, Michigan. So we didn't know each other personally, but we knew of each other. So that was a big help. But it was the second year of the program, and my goal was just basically, I was young. I was naive. I don't know how I thought I could do it, actually. When I look back at it, how did I think I could do that? I love the game. And so I just really wanted the program to always be someone that someone would look at it and think that's a classy program. They do things by the book. They do things right. They don't cheat. And just have our student athletes have lifetime friends. That to me was crucial, that they'd come in and they'd love the game. Of course, they'd graduate. That's a given to me. And they'd have lifetime friends. That's what I really wanted for our student athletes, and wanted to win, because, I didn't like losing too much. I wanted to win. And so you figure out a way to get them to do that. But to me, it was all about doing it the right way and really helping our young people become more contributors to society when they got out. I feel that coaching is so much more than wins and losses. It's so much more. So people will ask me a question, do you think this coach is a good coach? And I will sometimes say, I think that person knows how to have the team win. But that doesn't, in my book, doesn't mean they're a good coach. That means they have a part of it down. Or I may say they do a really good job with community service and they're helping the student athletes, but they don't win. So to me, you have to do both. You have to have a winning program. You have to win some, and you have to hopefully have everybody go out and be better. And I always figured if you cheat, you really didn't win. So, because that's not winning to me. So to me, that was I really wanted with our program.
And then I do have to ask you, which would you say characterized you more? Was it that you loved to win or that you hated to lose?
That's a question that everybody asks. I don't know that answer. To me, they're equal. I did not like to lose at all. But to me, it was winning. You wanted to win, but you wanted to win with class. And there's sometimes you knew you were going into a game that the other team was much more talented. But the question is, can you do the best you can? Did we play well? Did we play with passion? Did we do all those things? And then to me, we could have won, even though the score didn't say that. I talked to Hutch from Michigan, as everybody knows who Hutch is. I talked to Hutch. We would talk quite often because we're pretty good friends, and we weren't necessarily friends on the field when we played each other. But I talked to Hutch, and we would talk about, it's not who's got the best players, it's who's got the best team. It's all about the best team because, do they work together? Do they perform when they need to? And that to me that's what's most important.
Time, Blue.
Hey, Jay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important do you think brush contact is for pitchers?
It's pretty high up there, Ken. Probably a 10 since it's hard to get maximum speed or accuracy without it.
Yeah, I agree. But have you ever had a student who struggled to get good, light brush contact?
Sure, all the time, in fact. Especially when they've been taught hello elbow and are trying to throw around their hips, or they're sliding their hips out of the way doing that crazy ninja move.
So what do you do when you run into that situation? Keep railing on them until they get it right?
I used to do that a lot, but then I learned about a product called Pitch Squeak, Ken.
Pitch Squeak? What's that?
It's a cool little armband with a squeaker inside of it.
Like a dog toy?
Yeah, kinda.
So how does it work?
Well, you slip the armband onto the pitcher's forearm and you set it so the squeaker is where the brush contact should happen. Then, when the pitcher goes into release, she tries to get it to squeak, like this. If she makes it happen, she got brush. If there's no sound, she knows immediately and can make a correction.
Wow, cool. So she gets immediate audible as well as tactile feedback.
Oh, there you go again, showing off with those big and technical words again. But yeah, she can feel it and hear it.
Does it really work?
You bet it does. I use it with my students all the time, and it helps them learn how to get brush contact pretty quickly if they practice with it.
Sounds neat. Where can I get one?
Oh, it's easy, Ken. Just email support@pitchsqueak.com, and Jason, the inventor of it, and a Polygirl certified pitching coach himself will ask you how many you want and send them right out.
I'll do that today. Thanks, Jay. What's that address again?
Oh, you bet, Ken. It's support@pitchsqueak.com. One more time for those of you who are listening, support@pitchsqueak.com. And don't forget to mention in the email that you heard about it right here on From the Coach's Mouth podcast, and you'll receive 10% off.
Play ball. Speaking of Hutch, was it difficult for you to compete with Michigan and Michigan State? I mean, those were kind of the big name teams. They had the Big Ten conference thing and all that. When you were trying to recruit players, did you find that it was difficult, or were you able to find advantages for the types of kids you were looking for?
Well, that changed throughout my career. At the beginning of the career, my career central was, and Hutch would tell you this, matter of fact, Hutch does tell people this quite often, even in national events where I'm like, you don't have to say that, Hutch, but that we were better at that time than Michigan by quite a bit. And then things shifted. And towards the end of the career, we didn't beat Michigan. They beat us. Anyway, but we still beat Michigan State. So the issue was that we couldn't out-recruit Michigan towards the end. We did early on, but we couldn't towards the end. And they have a great program. They still have a great program. So it's a great university. It's education. I mean, all parts. So, yeah, I think that we did not win many recruiting battles with Michigan towards the end at all. Michigan State, we still won a lot of the battles. But I think that it's with Michigan and Michigan State, they're bigger universities. And there's some kids that wouldn't perform well with that type of a coach, or because Hutch and I coach quite differently. And Jackie, who was at Michigan State most of the time, she played for me at Central, so I know her quite well. But I think that there's one kid, there's a pitcher, and Michigan was recruiting her, we were recruiting her. And she ended up, I'm thinking, she's not going to do well at Michigan. I hope she comes to Central, because I just knew her personality and knew Hutch and how that went. And I'm thinking, and every time they played a game in travel ball, she pitched terrible when she pitched in Michigan's field. Like, she's totally intimidated. She should not be going there. She went there and did not do well. After a couple of years, transferred out, or I don't know how many years, but transferred out. But some kids, aren't going to do well in different environments. And so I think it's a matter of having a kid find the right environment for them. Even for me, it's if Division I isn't the all end. I obviously loved Division I at that time, but things have changed quite a bit too in the last few years. But some people, if you're not at that skill level, play Division II, play Division III, play the great game, play junior college, play the great game. You don't have to play Division I to be successful. And just because you're a Division I coach doesn't mean you're a better coach than Division II or III or any. I mean, it doesn't matter. You got to find who's a good coach, who's going to fit in. But to me, we tried to find the athletes. And then we did pay attention to the parents a little bit, what they were like in the stands and how the student athlete interacted with their teammates, interacted with their parents, interacted with everybody, just to get an idea of what you're getting. Because even a great player, if their parents are going to be a pain, is not going to be helpful, because they can stir up a lot of trouble with other parents. And then if you stir up trouble with the parents, you're stirring up trouble with the players. And so to me, you look at the whole package. And of course, academically, they have to be solid academically. But to me, again, you're at a college. I realize not everybody thinks this way. But to me, you're at a college. You have to be academically interested and go into that. And I wanted a kid who was competitive. Now, the baseball coach here at Central for a long time, Dean Kriener, would say to me, find a kid that plays multiple sports and who knows how to win. Their teams know how to win. So that was something else that I sort of paid attention to. But it was much easier to analyze a kid from the state in the state of Michigan, because I knew a lot of the coaches and knew them pretty well, could get an idea and could get feedback from other coaches about a kid. There's one player who was All-American at Central. I was not going to recruit her. She came to our camps, and I didn't think she was all that good. And this other coach said to me, high school coach, you've got to recruit her. This kid is great. I'm like, I don't see it, but okay, I'll trust your judgment on this one. So we did, and the kid was great. So, but sometimes we only saw them in a certain circumstance, and they may have had their best game of the life, or they may have had their worst game of the life when I've seen them. They may be an outfielder and not get one ball hit to them ever, so you can't see them on defense. They might sacrifice bunt every time, although to me, bunting is key to the game, but it still doesn't tell me if they are going to be able to hit the pitching. So, sometimes you just don't see enough when you recruit. So you try to find a kid that fits your program, but you're not always successful. And you ask the questions at the interview. I asked the questions. I tried to ask the same questions and treat them the same way when I was recruiting as when they played. But they know how to answer their question. And the one question is, are you competitive? Do you like? And of course they know how to answer the question, but they don't know what competitive always means either when they're in high school. They don't quite understand that concept. So yeah, you try to find the right fit, but sometimes you fail.
Like anything else, just like businesses hiring people, and somebody comes in, they have a great resume, they do a great interview, and then you find out that that's their talent, is putting together resumes and doing interviews. When they actually get into the job, they're not very good at it.
Right there. That's an interesting story, because there's a story with that, with one of the baseball coaches here that was hired, and the former baseball coach, one of the former baseball coaches, said to me, he's not going to win in the interview, but he's going to win on the field. And he was right. He didn't win on the interview, but he somehow got the position because of the push from other people. But he knew how to win on the field. He did a great job. He was a great guy, won on the field. Yeah, so it makes a big difference. So sometimes I get frustrated with people saying, well, how did they interview? Well, there's a lot more to the story than how they interview.
Yep.
Very true.
So I want to ask you, Margo, what made competing in the Mid-America Conference unique?
Mid-American Conference I like the areas that we play. We're not traveling all over the country. Well, we travel over the country to play ball, but not within conference. But it's in the area here, and I think the MAC kind of gets what I feel athletics should be all about. As a student athlete, it's not the huge money. Although that would have been nice. That would have been really nice to have some of the huge money. Yeah. But I could have taken other jobs and maybe gotten that, but I chose not to. But I think that just a conference, it was the type of people that were in the conference, different times. And now I don't like it so much because it seems to be more of a stepping stone than it was back when I first started. But I really enjoyed the people in the conference. Frank Ebert was a head coach at Western Michigan when I first got to Central, and she was a top coach, and Western Michigan was a top program nationally at that time in AIAW days. And, to have her in the league so I could watch her, and she was a mentor to me too. I'd call her up with questions, and she were competing, and she would answer my questions and help me out. And that time we were willing to work with each other and help each other out and support each other. And that's one thing I find about with softball coaches, in my opinion, they tend to be willing to share their knowledge with others. I've heard, and I'm not a member of those, but I've heard some other sports, they're not going to share their information. But softball is willing to share their information because it's about the game. And I think most of us, if not all of us, just love the game. So we want to have the game be represented in the right way.
Yeah, and I'm sure that from your standpoint, when you're playing somebody, you want the game to be competitive. Obviously, you want to beat them, but it doesn't really do you any good to be out there playing a bunch of teams that aren't very good. So if you can share some information, raise the level, and kind of the rising tide lifts all boats, that'll just make you sharper when you play them.
Correct. And that's what I think internationally, too. I would like to see the U.S. do a little bit more on helping softball internationally grow, because obviously it's a huge sport here, but it's not all over internationally, especially in Europe and different places. So I kind of wish we did a better job of that.
Well, yeah, and that's hurt from the Olympics thing too, is that it depends. Now, softball's in and out of the Olympics depending on which country is hosting it and how hard they're willing to push for it. If it was a little more of a universal sport, I think we'd see it in there more permanently.
Yeah, there's no doubt when it was voted out of the Olympics, that was pretty sad. And now, as you said, it's only if the country happens to want it. Otherwise, we're not in. And so to me, it's just, as I said, very sad because it's a great game. And I know that at times there are people that went over to the Netherlands, and a couple of people in the U.S. and the top part of the U.S. softball area were upset. We don't want you going there. I'm like, well, why not? It felt like I was being disloyal. They felt some coaches were doing that were disloyal. Well, in my mind, it wasn't disloyal at all. I figured if the U.S. can't beat a team like the Netherlands with that small and learning the sport, it's our fault. It's not theirs.
Yeah.
So in my mind, we need to help those, and we need to help the sport. If we love the sport, we need to help the sport internationally.
For sure. So how has college softball changed since you started coaching? What do you see is different today? Some things may be better, some things may be worse.
Well, it's certainly not totally different because it's still softball. You still pitch, you still catch, you still field. It's all that. But I remember back when Gail Blevins was getting the slap game when she was at Indiana before she went to Iowa. So there was a slap game. It's the first time they slap her. What are they doing? Because she started that. So, now that's part of the game, but it's not as big as it was for a while. So it's kind of in and out different ways. But I think that the game was still about technique. Obviously, the facilities, the fields that we play on now, the facilities that we play in now, the amount of money that is spent now is so much more. The difference,
some teams more than others.
Yeah, that's a problem too, to me, is that there's such a big difference now that the schools like Central Michigan have a hard time competing with the schools like SEC schools because the amount of money and, well, the weather too is a factor. But so it's just, to me, it's changed that way. It's good. I'm happy. I'm happy that the money's there. I think that's great. I'm happy the TV coverage, I think, has made a big difference. I mean, I have people that tell me all the time now they watch the game on TV. And I'm like, well, why don't you go to the field and watch Central Michigan play on the field here locally? But it's become, because of TV, that's been a big push, I think. I think it's helped our game that way. The coaches' salaries are some of them, and some of them are still not very good. So it's so different how the salaries are. And same thing with the budgets, what the budgets are like, what the facilities are like. I'm sure that's true in most sports, but it's just, it has changed a lot. DP, there wasn't a DP. It used to be a DH. Now it's a DP, going back and forth. So the rules have changed some, a little, un poco, only a little, but the game hasn't changed all that much either, but everything surrounding the game has changed so much. The bats are a lot hotter. The ball is hotter. We still have the one-run ball games. I happen to like that because I like pitching and I like defense. I do like offense, but I like defense more. I'm more defensive-oriented than offensively oriented. So I just feel that, in my opinion, and everybody can disagree, I don't care, there are way too many runs scored in super regionals and regionals.
Yeah.
It's like, make the strike zone what the strike zone is in the book. Let's call the strike zone. Let's not just make it so it's a hitter's game totally. I'm thinking, I don't know if I wanted to pitch. I mean, I love pitching. I'm not sure I'd want to pitch today with the strike zone that are being called. And, that varies too, of course, with the umpires. And it seemed a little bit different at the series than it was at regionals and super regionals. To me, so the game has changed some, but it's still the awesome game that anybody. You can be tall, you can be short, you can be thin, you can be heavier, you don't have to be a certain body type to play the game. Anybody can play the game that way. And obviously being athletic helps. But, even honestly, I pitched. I was not the most athletic person in the world. I'm not. But I could learn how to pitch and I could catch because I could do those positions and I didn't have to be as quick and as fast. But now the athleticism and the amount of coaching that goes into it now, I'm not saying the coaches are better now. I refuse to say that, of course. I'm not saying they're better. But I am saying that they now have strength coaches there to help with it a lot more. I mean, when I first started at Central, I did everything. There wasn't the extra coaches, and actually the batting cages that are still here today, I was a shovel, dug out the batting cages type thing. Couldn't do that today, but I did back then. So things have changed, but I think that they now have advantages of the strength coaches, and they have hitting coaches, and they have pitching coaches, and they have defense coach, and they have so many things like that. So student athletes have so many more opportunities to me. And I really think I want our current student athletes to appreciate the opportunities they have, even if they don't get huge money from NIL, that they still have so many opportunities. So appreciate the game and what it is. And money, obviously, that's great and certainly accept it. No reason not to, but it's about the game too and about friendships and about all that type of thing because it's about people.
Yeah, when you're talking about, all I could think of was, they have nutritionists now.
Yeah.
Back when you started coaching, right, on the way to the game, or maybe after the game, everybody's stopping at McDonald's to get something to eat on the way home. And, the nutritionist now would just freak out over that. Probably have meals packed.
Yeah, that's quite different.
Margo, I want to ask you, what aspects of today's game excite you the most? You see all these amazing pitchers, these athletes, like what part of the game excites you the most that's kind of maybe changed a little bit?
I think the pitching is exciting to see the ball movement that, but Linda Padgett had a great rise ball when I was first here. She'd compete today, there's no doubt. But I think that seeing the number of players that are very good now is but of course it's because of all the different coaching people that they have around them too from a young age. I honestly do not understand how parents can afford it, how they can do all the travel stuff and all that. I feel there's no way I'd have been able to do that as a kid. But the exciting part, and it is exciting to see the hitting and to watch the technique of the hitting now, it's consistently looks pretty good most of the time. You rarely see someone that has bad technique, but still, even if sometimes you have bad technique, some people could still hit because they were athletic. I think what I like the most about the game now is how excited people are to watch it. That to me is the most exciting. Is that's not the game itself, but that's the most exciting. I just love watching the technique of different players and all that, but I realize that's not what the general public likes. So to see what the general public likes, it's fun to help the game grow that way.
Yeah, I just have that feeling you go to watch a game at any level, and at some point you're just going to say, wow. Something's going to happen that's going to make you say, wow.
Yeah, there's some defensive plays in this series that were great, but I don't think anybody's better than Laura Berg yet playing center field, that's for sure. Or from when at Central, Lynn Putnam, who was an amazing player back in the day here. So, there's certain players in all different times of the game, all different eras that were just as good as the players today. But there's just so much fun to watch great plays. I love watching great plays. I love watching the throw to the catcher from the outfield, one hop, getting to the catcher, make a nice tag like that. I love watching the suicide squeeze that are done, but you don't see much of that anymore. I just like the creating runs as well as the power hitting. Now there's so much power hitting, you don't do a lot of creating runs. You let them hit because well, the bats are so hot and the ball can go over the fence like nothing. And I do think that I was opposed to Jackie Joseph saying that we needed to not have a run rule. I was opposed to that because I like the run rule concept, but I think 8 runs is not enough anymore. Not with the bats we have. I think 8 runs, it has to be increased. I'm not saying get rid of it totally, but it has to be increased, I think.
Yeah, and I agree with you about the strike zone, too. I think that it's probably well-intentioned, but it has gotten so small that pitchers just don't have any room to pitch anymore.
Nope.
Right.
And even at the youth levels, I mean, I get my kids coming in, sometimes they're 11, 12 years old that are coming in, and the parents are telling me that it was legitimately a shoebox size strike zone, and they had no choice because the other team would just sit there and wait for the ball to come into a good spot. They had no choice but to throw the ball right down the heart of the plate, and they were getting hit. And you're thinking, wow, we spent all that time, all this time in lessons trying to learn how to pick the corners and work the edges and get out ahead and throw a ball that looks like a strike. And if you're not opening up the strike zone and using it, it's just going to take it away.
Correct. Yeah. And I was a pitcher that was all about control. So that, of course, bothers me the most because that was that's what I did. So
I will say this. I am glad that people are actually starting to speak out about it now. I've seen several coaches on, social media talking about the strike zone, doing that. And I'm hoping that, the NCAA and the NFCA will bring that up in the next time that they meet to talk about the strike zone, because I feel people are now starting to see how really small that thing is. It's the size of a shoebox. And again, I think there needs to be balance in the game, I feel like I hope that people continue to speak up about it, because I think that's the only way that some form of change is going to be made, because it really is. This year, I thought more than others was extremely small. And being a pitching coach, it just makes our jobs a lot more difficult, because now we have to miss by even less, and there's the ball's over the plate. And I hope that people continue to speak up and bring that up in the meetings that are, come forward when they're talking about some of these things.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to have some change on that. And, records were set. So many records were set. Offensive records were set this year. Well, yeah, because the hitters are good. Yeah, they are good. Very good. But also because they had the ball in the middle to hit. So, the records, I feel, are, that's, almost has to be asterisked this year because of that. But so.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that, yes, hitters are better. Hitters are working at their craft a lot more in the off season. Yep. To me, that's a big change. I've been in the game quite a while as well. And I've seen that happen where, it was rare that a kid went and got hitting lessons in the winter. They basically depended on their team coach to teach them how to hit. And you had those 1-0 games, but now between the hotter bats and the fact that kids are actually going out and getting hitting lessons and spending time just like pitchers have always worked at pitching, it's made a difference in there. So you don't need all of the little cheats in the rules or the smaller strike zone for the game to be balanced out.
Right. And I think people like to see hitting. That it seems like the general public likes to see hitting the most. But there's a difference between seeing hitting and seeing only hitting. So that's not our game.
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the other night I was watching an AUSL game. It's exciting at first. The game's a nice, close game. And then all of a sudden, a big-name pitcher just started getting rocked. And then they brought in a relief pitcher. She started getting rocked. I turned the game off. Was like, this isn't softball to me. This just isn't that interesting. I'm sure there were people who loved it, seeing all the home runs and all the big hits and everything, but it just didn't feel like the game to me. So I want to ask you a question, because this is something that I see happen. I think it's happening more and more. There's this idea that teams, they want to get more players involved as coaches again. They're trying to do all of these things, but they kind of sometimes throw them in when they're not prepared, like to take a head coaching job, and they basically set them up for failure. So I'm wondering, what kind of advice would you give to young coaches just coming up? What would you recommend to them? What should they do? How can they approach things? How can they be successful?
Well, I think for young coaches, it's a difficult profession right now, especially with the situation with parents and with NIL. If you're not the transfer portal, if you're not happy, just leave. So I think it's a difficult profession right now to go into. But if you're going to want to be a coach, which it's still a great profession, you get to work with young people, you get to work with the best game in the world. I mean, it's a great profession, but it's difficult now. I think you want to make sure that you're prepared. So just like you want your student athletes to be prepared, you need to be prepared going into it. I was lucky. I came in back when we got paid nothing. I think I made $4,000 my first year. So you got paid nothing type thing. But it was a GA, so it wasn't full time. But now I think you need to be an assistant coach someplace. You need to learn that. I wouldn't mind seeing you coach a travel ball team just to get an idea of what it's like to be a head coach, because it's different being an assistant coach and being a head coach. There's differences. Even though you've seen everything, you've done it all, there's still a little difference. And there's difference between being a head coach of travel ball and being a head coach collegiate too. It's very different. So I think you have to have the aspects of both. And as I said, I don't think it matters if you're not. It matters as far as getting a job, but it doesn't matter as far as if you're a good coach, depending on what level you coach at. So I think try to be a head coach at a certain level, but it's hard to get a job from a Division II to a Division I if you're not known. But if you're known, it'll be okay. So do some talking with other people, getting to know other coaches. I think it's important to get to know coaches so that you have people that are your mentors and that you learn. And I think part of the Coaches Association is big too. I did a lot with that, and I thought that was huge. And I think it is today. Have young coaches get involved with that, and then they get to meet other coaches, and they also get to go to the clinics and get to know what coaches are talking about in the sessions, and they get to know what's going on.
NFCA, right?
Right,
the NFCA.
Yeah. I think all that stuff is important. And I think that as a coach himself, learn the game, but then realize that communication is going to be a huge aspect if you're going to be successful or not. So work on your communication skills as well. And I really feel that as a young coach, any coach, in order to be successful, the players, I had a quote up that said, let's see how it read, the players don't care how much you know, how much you know first. There's something, you have to care first. I can't think of the quote exactly right now. But
they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's it. That's a quote I had in front of me all the time. And I think that's so important that you get to know the student athlete, you get to know them, and not just as a player, but as a person, and understand how big that is, and get to know personality types. I think there's those personality tests that you get to know what works well with what personalities, but you have to learn all those different aspects if you're going to be successful in the coaching world.
You mean you don't just coach everybody the same way? You don't just say, here's how I coach, and everybody's got to adjust to me?
No, it doesn't quite work that way. It never did. But even today, it works even less that way. But it never did work that way. If you're really going to get the most out of a student athlete, I think it's really important to know who they are and what works for them. I remember one player, oh my gosh, she's a friend today, but I remember one time she wasn't playing well. She's a great kid, just wasn't playing well at this point in time. So I'm like, I tried, the hug, not figuratively, not physically, and tried and I'm like, I'm going to yell at her, see if this works. I yelled at her. Okay, major mistake. The kid couldn't look at me for 2 weeks. She was so upset that I yelled at her. I'm like, okay, now I'll have to rework this. So I'm going to have to work really hard at getting this kid's trust back, because now it didn't work. And other people you yelled at. One of my friends now, Brittany Ranzat, who's the head coach now at Northwood, I said earlier, her mother would say to her, how come coach yells at you and she doesn't yell at so-and-so? Brittany said to her mom told me this not too long ago, because Mom, I can take it. And if she yelled at that person, they'd be crying. They can't take it. So, you have to learn your student athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. And, for me, it was, it's kind of tough. I didn't like yelling at kids, but there were some kids that needed to be coached harder. And it was difficult for me because I always felt bad about it. But you learn that, sometimes you have to do that for their benefit and they will appreciate it. You know, if you're soft on them, they're going to be mad that you don't, or think you don't like them.
Right. I know. And I have the same thing that you did. I have a hard time yelling at kids, but then sometimes you had to be a little bit more, you had to get outside my personality. And it always, to me, is the players had to see what personality do they need to see now? What face do they need to see in a game? Because sometimes I'm really ticked off, but I can't let them see that. And sometimes they need to see that I'm ticked off.
Yep.
So you got to figure out what face do they need to see right now?
Yeah.
So, Margo, we told you to be about an hour. We're about that right now. So we've only got a few questions for you here. Just one that I have for you is, what do you hope people remember most about your teams?
Briefly, that we played with class and we competed.
All right. I have a question for you. What's it like to have your home stadium now named after you? That's a pretty big honor. How do you feel when you walk by and you see Margo Jonker Field?
Well, actually, I would feel if we didn't win, I'm like, oh, really? This should not be named after me. It was one of those deals. I'm like, oh my gosh, we didn't win. But obviously, it's a huge because the alumni had a lot to do with getting the funds to make that happen. Yeah, it's funny because I went to a game a couple years ago there and at the stadium, and one of the kids I was coming out of a restroom, and they said, "Oh, I heard that it's named after you." I'm like, "Yeah, your family must have had a lot of money." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, my family have money? Not exactly.
Sold a couple cows.
Exactly. So, but yeah, just to have that the people put that kind of donated that kind of money to make it happen just is I think it's cool. I just who knows if one deserves it, but I think it's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny with stadiums being named for somebody. I remember the story down in Miami when they opened up Joe Roby's stadium, and he was kind of rough. He never was very good with the reporters, and somebody asked a reporter to say, how do you feel about the Dolphin Stadium being named Joe Roby Stadium now? And he goes, "Oh, I'm okay with it, although I'd prefer if it was Joe Roby Memorial Stadium."
Oh, that's not nice. Oh.
No, but it was funny.
Yeah,
that is true. It is funny.
Fortunately, I think people love the fact that it's a living memorial. Something there that you can still go and visit, and they can see you there.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to go to the games.
Okay, I was going to ask you, do you still go to the games?
Oh yeah, I go to their games. It's the Central's games. I go to Northwood games. I go to Michigan games. I go to Toledo's games because coach there. I go to Hope College now because alumni coaches there. I go to have to go to all these different games because and then Grand Valley because I did play there. So it's a combination. I go to a lot of games.
Nice.
Well, that'll keep you busy.
It does.
All right, Coach, just one last question for you here. We ask this of just about everybody that we have on here. The last question is, do you happen to have any hidden talents that people would be surprised to find out about you?
I'm boring. No, I don't have any hidden talents. I did do a lot of sewing when I was younger.
There we
I
go.
sewed I sewed my brother a suit and that type of stuff. So I did that, but then I haven't done that in a long time. But I used to sew quite a bit. But other than that, not really. I'm not really. I'm trying to. It's certainly not a talent, but I just picked up golf after I retired, so I'm trying to learn that game a little bit. But that's about it. Not a lot of stuff like that.
Awesome. The sewing is there. That's talent right there. I cannot do any of that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I can't even draw a straight line, so much less try to do that with a machine or something.
Well, it's really cool. I think it's really cool that you guys have a podcast that does with softball and promotes our game, because anytime we can promote our game with the media, because I think the media makes such a difference in what sports are acknowledged and what people are acknowledged, but such a huge difference in our society. So thank you very much for doing this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We love doing it. We're really happy. We always love it when people come on and thank us, because somebody like you coming in, talking to a couple knuckleheads like us, we just feel lucky that you know, that you would accept the invitation.
Yeah, I'll be smiling the rest of the day, Coach. Seriously, this makes my day, makes my week, and we're just grateful for the people that actually want to talk to us. So thank you for spending your time with us. Honestly, thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you for having me. I love to talk about this game.
Well, we can see that for sure. All right. Well, that's it for us this week. thanks to all of you for listening and the kind words you've been sharing with us. If you like what you're hearing, please remember to give us a like, leave a comment, and share this podcast on your social media channels. Make sure you never miss an episode by following us on your favorite podcast platform. If you're so inclined, you can also leave us a great review on Apple Podcasts to help more people find us. And you can even get yourself a t-shirt. Remember that. On behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, have a great rest of your week and weekend.